This episode is sponsored by Zenro Clothing Co. Pick up your tees and or accessories at zenroclothingco.com and be sure to use offer code Socrates at checkout for 20% off select items. Also, if you're not into spending the money, just check out the Zenro radio playlist. zenroclothingco.com, music for your everyday. This episode also sponsored by The Pornian Bakery. If you're located in the Pornian area of Scarborough, Toronto, be sure to check out The Pornian Bakery, say what's up to Arville, and pick up a donut or two. Baked daily, crafted with love. This episode also sponsored by Podbean. Podbean is the podcasting platform of choice. It's the one that me and Vish use, and is great, you know, if you're looking to start that DIY podcast yourself. Definitely check out Podbean. Use the link podbean.com/SocraticGamers and gain 1 month of unlimited podcasting for free. Test it out, build that content. Anyone could podcast, right, Vish?
Yep.
Start a podcast and get your ideas out there. All right, enjoy the episode. All right, cool. So I know last week we were talking about, we started off talking about the tetanus shot, right? And I was like, debating, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna like book it, okay? So the first thing I asked him when I went in was like, how? So no, he opened with, why are you here? And I was like, oh, just to get a tetanus shot like booster. And he's like, nobody usually does that. And I was like, okay, explain to me why we need this thing. And he's like, no, like it's important to get, but just nobody like follows through on it, you know? And then it's like Tara hasn't gotten it. You said like you haven't booked one yet or anything, and like it's not something that most people do. So he was like wondering why I wanted to do it. I was like, yeah, my mom, like, she's a nurse, so she just really wants me to get the tetanus shot. He's like, you can get it like in different situations, and it is like prevalent, but just most people don't do it. Okay, so I'll just open with that. So I was like, okay, whatever, let's just get the shot. Like I had my full arm was like numb and stuff. And then I was like, okay, it's numb. It should be fine. So I know I've been talking about like the Zensa cream that I use for like tattoos. It's like numbing cream I use for tattoos, and it works, right? For tattoos. The first time I used it for the first COVID shot, it didn't work, but I blamed Tara for that. I was like, oh, it's because you didn't let me put it on long enough. And the second shot, I felt it a little bit, like kind of again. And then I was like, oh, it's because I wiped it off too early. So this time I gave it 2 hours, and then I took it off right before she put the injection in. And I still felt it. So I was like, okay, what the hell's going on? So I like was reading about it because I had numbing cream before when I was like younger, and it worked, right? Apparently there's like a different one that's actually 4 injections that like penetrates the skin. The one I have is more for like tattoos. So it doesn't have the chemical compound. Yeah, surface layer. It doesn't go like deep enough. So I was like, okay, that's fine. Like I'll figure that part out. So that's not what I want to get to. So the first time I got the COVID shot, we were all talking about the adverse effects of getting a shot, right? And you're like, oh, if you get it, like you might react bad, or like this is an untested vaccine, blah, blah, blah. And then when I got that first shot, I started to think like I'm having an adverse reaction to the shot. So they rushed me to like this waiting area, and they made me like lie down, and then you remember I was telling you that, right? And then I was essentially going through a panic attack, right? And then I asked her, like, is this from the shot or is this from like my head? And she's like, no, this is on your head. Like you would have had a different reaction to the shot if this was your shot. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like as soon as she said that, I snapped out of it, and I like was fine. So then the second shot, it was like the second COVID shot, it was like, okay, this is kind of weird, but I'm okay with it. So then when I got this shot, oh my God, they told me to wait outside for 15 minutes, and my mind just starts being like, you're having a reaction. This is it. It was so gnarly, dude. It was like, oh, like I was getting nauseous. I'm like, no, this is just panic. This is just panic. Relax. Like, you know what this is, right? And I was using every yoga trick I knew, and I couldn't stop it. And I was like, oh crap, I'm going to throw up on this floor in front of everyone, right? So Tara's like, hey, my partner's having these reactions. They put me in the room again. They made me lie down. And I was like, okay, I'm feeling better. Like, let me just go. And they're like, no, we have to monitor you, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like both Tara and the doctor called it like vasovagal or something like that. And I told my sister, and it's like, she knew what it was. And basically what it is like a panic attack from having injections.
Okay.
So it's a thing. But then I was like, wait a minute. How come this is like, this all started with the COVID shot? So something in my psyche is now being reinforced every time I get a shot.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like it never happened before when I was like younger. This is like it. Like my very first time having this panic attack was the COVID shot. So something in there is like encoded now, and it won't leave.
Right.
Even if it's not a COVID shot, it's like any shot now is like, oh, you're like going into reaction, like, and you can't break the thought spiral, which is crazy. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking like I'm probably gonna try and find like a phobia therapist to see if there are any tricks I can learn for like breaking this, because yoga's not helping.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's weird too, because you're like they're like even the strongest minds have their breaking point. You know, you could learn all the tricks, but like when you're face to face with it, it's like how are you going to react?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Weird, right?
I think it's also because it's like, see, people with like height phobia or whatever, right? It's like you can like practice it more and more, right? What I mean is like you can go to places of height or in tall buildings or things like that. But
like exposure therapy.
Yeah, you're getting more exposure to it, so it becomes more normal.
Yeah.
Where injections are not often. So.
Right. So how do I even practice this? Right. And then if it's based off of what happened last time, like my body learned that behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Like my mind was trying to like kick it out. It was like, hey, no, this is not, you're fine. But my body was having like a physiological reaction to the fear.
Right.
You know? And I knew it was a panic attack because like this scar over my eyebrow, I was in Montana and like I was watching these two people fight, and the girl slapped the bottle out of the guy's hand and it hit me in the face. Right. But it didn't hurt. So I was like, oh, that's weird. And then like I was like, oh, that's funny. And then I started to feel like liquid. So I like touched it. I was like, oh, this is blood. So I ran to the bathroom and I saw all this blood on my face. Ooh. And I went into a panic attack and I threw up.
Okay. Yeah.
But it was because I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to like get stitches. Like,
right. You went to the extreme scenario. What you do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I knew the shot reaction was a panic attack. But it's like, how do you break a panic attack mid panic attack? And you're right. There's no way to like.
I mean, I don't know if there's a way that you'd have to talk to, as you said,
right?
A phobia
like,
therapist.
Figure that out, right? Yeah, because I'm like, okay, the spirituality's not working. Like spirituality got me to get the shot. I was like, okay, you're fine. Like, let's just go one step at a time. You know, like to do it, like spirituality can get you there and the discipline. Because I hate shots, but it's like, what do you do after the fact? Like, what do you do when you're in like a freak out scenario? You know?
Yeah.
I just thought that was interesting because it's like, wow, the mind is so powerful that I couldn't break it, you know? It's weird. Super weird. Yeah, I just want to throw that out there because I thought it was like a very interesting experience. And I've been testing, like, I thought maybe one thing I could do is like write down what it feels like after the shot. So, you know, people are like, oh, your arm's sore or whatever. Like, no, I have full range of motion. Like, I was like, oh, this actually, it doesn't hurt. Like, I thought it would going into it, like, oh, I'm gonna be out for a couple of days, whatever. But like, it's fine. And I'm hoping that next time I have to get a shot, I could read that stuff and be like, you'll be fine after. You'll be fine. You know, maybe like I don't know what the trick is, but like, there's gotta be something.
It might be those are different tricks, but you don't know what kind of other subconscious things you're adding to it that your brain is doing, right? So it's like if you're looking into adverse effects, or you're looking into, you don't know how much of that is actually impacting.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, it's all on the subconscious level. And before we got the COVID shot, all we were talking about was like
adverse reactions or all that stuff. Yeah.
Even when I was talking to the doctor about it, right? I was like, oh, why do people get tetanus shots? And he's like, mostly the most common scenario for people getting tetanus shot is if you're bit or you're pregnant. Like most women, when they're pregnant, they'll just get a tetanus shot just to like, I don't know, like give antibodies to the baby or whatever. But then he kept saying, like, it's a safe shot. You can get it every year. If you got it like a couple months ago, you'd totally be fine if you got it again. So maybe like, subconsciously I was thinking like reaction. When he started to prompt, you know, it's so weird. Yeah.
Yeah, the mind is crazy. Yeah, it's hard to
right.
Yeah, but it's funny because like there's two pieces to the mind. You know you're having a panic attack, but you can't control the panic attack.
Well, I can't control it, and you're like, what? It's so logical. You're like, I know what this is. Like as it was happening, I was like, no, this is the thing. There's all the signs. just like focus on your breathing. And I was like, oh, it's not working. And then like, okay, try and focus on something. Oh, that didn't work. All right, Tara, go get me an orange juice. Oh, that's not working. So I'm like, what is going to work?
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Like you do all the jujitsu, you can like pin a guy.
That's what I mean, right?
But it's the mind you can't pin. How do you pin the mind?
I know, right? That's my whole point. That's my whole point. It's like I felt worse. Like the shot. Oh man, that was so funny because I was trying to like use like Naruto to distract myself, and then as I was trying to hit play, it wasn't playing, and I was like, oh, hold on, it's not playing, it's not. And then she did it. I was like, oh, there it is. Right. And then like when I asked Tara after, she's like, oh, you were mumbling. We didn't even know what you're saying. I was like, I thought I was saying, hold on, I'm trying to press play.
Right.
And she said that didn't come out. Like all we heard was like we thought you were just scared, you know? Anyways, but like, you're right. All of this like martial arts and like these pursuits of like I've felt way worse pain than that. But still, it's like, it's nothing compared to what your mind can do to you. Like you say, like you can pin a guy, you can like do all this stuff. And it's like, at the end of the day, that is the biggest obstacle in life.
I think this may be like, what's the word? Those guys that like make you go into thinking you're as a kid, like trying to, what's that?
Hypnosis.
Hypnosis.
Yeah, I went through that before to try and see what this was. Like I knew a hypnotherapist, so I was like, oh, put me under. We can like work through this this like issue, right? And what I realized is like hypnotherapy is essentially like guided meditation. It's exactly the same. They're just like making you relax and they're telling you to call up like images and stuff like that. So like I know where the trauma comes from. Like it was when I was a kid and like all the nurses held me down and they're like, we're going to give you like this blood test.
Yeah.
Right. So I know what it was. I just don't know how to break it now. I'm like, we all know what the problem is, but like, what is the trick to breaking it?
But sometimes we don't know, like that's the story that you remember as a kid.
Okay. Yeah.
Sometimes we
like reframe
exaggerate the story.
Totally. Yeah. Right? For sure.
So I don't know what kind of therapy that would require to kind of reframe that story, because it's like I had a story as a kid that I remember when I was like when they were looking for me, I was like, I walked out the house or something. My whole idea, because this is coming from them, right? So my thinking was I was in this particular house, but then when I found out only like I would say last year that it was at a different house. My whole idea of where it was totally wrong.
Totally. Yeah. Pseudo memories. Like you fill in the gap. Like there's this great example of what did you wear on your first day of school, and your mind will bring up the picture, but you could never know what exactly that thing was unless you see a photo of it. You know, and that's the danger of the mind too. Like they say that they don't interrogate kids. Like if there's like a sex scandal or something with a child, they don't actually ask the child outright, like, did they do this to you? Because the child will fill it in. They have to infer it in different ways. And like, because you don't want to implant the wrong memory in someone. Yeah. Which is crazy. And then our whole lives are just a buildup of these memories. You know, like compounding effect. Yeah. It's really wild. Like I think that example, like the shot yesterday, really like opened my eyes to the limitations of all of this training. Because like, okay, there's something missing there. Like, you know, wild. Yeah. Yeah. Do you
maybe it's like an instinctual nature? Like we can't defeat our some instinctual nature.
Maybe
that we have.
But I did say that like before. Like if you bring me to an enlightened person, I'm just gonna slap them in the face, and I keep slapping until they get mad at me. Because you're right. You can't fight your instinctual nature. You know, and I'm in pursuit of figuring out, is there a way to do it? You know, I was even considering like leading up to this, I was like, what if I was like under the influence going into this? Maybe it would help me, right? But then like seeing what happened there, like even like, so I was like testing it out, but then certain like substances would make me too paranoid over the thought. And I was like, oh, this would be really bad. So I thought with that experience yesterday, I was like, what if I was under the influence? It would probably make it even worse, because then you're like, it would make it feel more real, because you're like thought spiraling.
Yeah.
But is that, like, I don't know. I don't know if there's a way. Like, that's why I want to speak to a therapist, because it's like you actually have tools. You have like actual clinical tools to get over this.
Yeah, and they study these things, right? So maybe something
is
there. Yeah.
And then I'll be like, you could see how science and spirituality are maybe mixing now somehow. I don't know. It'll just be interesting, because it's like when you're face to face with your fear, there's something physiological there that the mind maybe just can't override ever.
Possible. Yeah.
Right? Like, like you have the fear of snakes, right? So it's like, you think you could ever, but I guess like exposure therapy maybe.
But that's a different, right? Because that's what I'm saying. Like I could have potential exposure therapy. It's easy to do without having to, you know what I mean?
Like, right, yeah. Or else I just go get a shot like every
that's
like
the only
every year.
Like the flu shot. Yeah, the flu shot may be the best way to go.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe like as we practice this, like if I find like a good therapist, it's like, hey, just go get a flu shot, see how that feels. And you're like, oh, maybe I will, Yeah. I don't know, like you don't mind shots? I don't know why people don't mind shots. It's weird to me.
Maybe I just didn't have any kind of reaction in a sense as a kid, right? So because there are people that are like you too. So maybe it's a similar story, right?
Yeah, that's true. Like for me, like the profession that I would never get into is like nursing or being a doctor, because they practice giving shots to one another. So that seems so scary. Or like being a diabetic, shooting yourself every day. Oh my God. Like,
right.
Or maybe that's the thing. It's like, it's just continuously built up over years of being like, I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want that.
Yeah. I think so. Those are the things. Yeah. Those are adding to it. So it's like,
yeah, true. It's weird, because it's like, what other things are people? It just like, it makes you think about the process of a human being, right? Like, what are you doing every single day that's reinforcing a belief pattern, that you may not want, and then how do you break that pattern?
Yeah, we're not that knowledgeable to do all that, but that's a therapist.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah, it would be interesting to see like yogis, like master yogis, do this kind of stuff. Like I need to see it. Like I need to see it to believe it, kind of thing. You have to prove to me that this is possible. Maybe it's not possible, and I'm just like in the pursuit of nothing.
Maybe you can only to a certain extent, and after that, it's not possible. It depends on the individual's what their fear is, right? I guess.
It's true.
Because everyone's got something different. So
they say there are like yogis who can like slow down their heart rate and like do all this. Oh, here's another crazy thing. So they were testing my blood pressure to make sure I was okay, and I was already scared, and like it made it worse, because I was like, so it was like super high. We went for a walk, and then Tara was like, hey, let me just check your blood pressure now, because like you're more relaxed, so she did it, and it was still like crazy high, and she's like, okay, we'll test it in a couple of days. And I'm like, no, but I feel fine now. Like, are you sure that's not my actual blood pressure? And then she's like, no, we've done like a lot of work. I know your blood pressure is not that high, because it was like skyrocketing, right? And then she was saying that if you go through a traumatic experience, it can take like up to a week for your body to normalize itself again. So we'll test it again in like a week.
Yeah.
But what's weird, like we were talking about like the difference between body and mind. My mind was telling me you're fine, but then when you check my physiological response, it's like, oh, you're still panicked.
Right.
Like, so maybe there is no way.
Yeah, because it wants you to be able to do normal things, your mind, but your body is in a certain reaction. It's not
right.
Yeah.
So it's like, what is this thing? Like, maybe you really can't control the body as much as you think you can. You know what I mean?
Right.
You can discipline the body through the mind. You can like make it believe it's okay, but your physiological response will never change. Right?
Possible.
Like that makes
Yeah.
But then it makes you think like you know how they say like human being?
Mm-hmm.
So the human element is our body, and then the being is our spiritual
Yeah. Right.
thing, right? Maybe like the real truth here is you have to accept that you're a human being. But we want, like in spiritual life, we want the being to override the human. You know what I'm saying? Like all these
Mm-hmm.
yoga
Right. Right. Yeah.
masters and
Yeah. Yeah.
stuff,
Mm-hmm.
they're like oh, you can control everything about your body if you just like master your mind and stuff. It's like maybe that's actually not possible past a certain point. Like you will always be tethered to your body.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
how do
Yeah.
you stop a physiological response? That's like innate. Like I thought my blood pressure would be fine because I'm like, I feel fine, but your blood pressure's telling me you're not.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
right? Weird. And the fact that it lasts for
Mm-hmm.
a week after is like, what? So it's like perpetual stress. Like imagine like your life is a
Yeah.
stress state as well,
Mm-hmm.
you know, with
Mm-hmm.
like people who like hate their jobs and stuff. And it's like, that's just compounding too. It's
Component.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Like it's like, okay, if this stress is going to last a week and then like your next week is also stressful, it's like you're just in that zone of like high blood pressure all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's like we don't care for our body well enough in society. Like we don't, you know what I mean? Like we kind of push ourselves. We're a mind driven society, you know, get that work done, go do this, blah, blah, blah. But we never like connect with our body. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Maybe that's why we have that thinking that we're separate from the body, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Like I just started reading this book called Endure by Cameron Haynes.
Mm-hmm.
And the book is just about how do you push through discomfort using your mind to do whatever you want. And then after that experience with the shot, I'm like, wait, maybe this is not the way to go. Because like maybe the body just doesn't want to do certain things or
Yeah.
but you know what I mean? Like you have to play to the rules you're given or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Does it make sense?
I think
You
it
know what
makes sense in the sense that I think it's more like understanding strengths and weaknesses
Yeah, totally.
and
Yeah.
playing around that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like limitations and like understanding that like okay, so in martial arts, people are always like, you're so fast, right? But to me, I'm like, I'm not fast. I can see the pattern. Like if you're going to throw a punch, I can dodge it, right?
Yeah.
Quite well,
Yeah.
right? But I can see the pattern of you throwing the punch. So I'm not thinking about, hey, that's a punch. My body's just reacting in a thing, right? In a certain way. And I was like, that's totally trainable. But maybe I am fast. Is what I'm leading towards this conversation. It's like your strengths and weaknesses. Like maybe my brain is built in that way to see that speed.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's like, and I keep thinking like this is possible for everyone. Maybe things aren't possible
No,
for everyone.
I think it's different
You know?
for yeah. I think it's different for everybody. You got to figure out their own strength. That's why it's like people are good at certain things, right? They're good at a certain job. They're not good at another kind of job. You just
like mathematics or something.
It doesn't matter how much you train them. They're just not going to be into it. So
yeah, no, totally, no, for real though. Like that actually makes a lot of sense when you think about it now. Because, like in spiritual life and not just spiritual life, but like self-help, they really think people can change and do better. Anyone could do it, you know?
Right?
Like,
Yeah.
And you'll buy those books, and they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna read this book," and then they never take the action to actually do it, right? But there are those of us that actually read the thing, and then we like take the steps to do those things, you know. But some people can't do it, so maybe it's like chemistry wise, physiologically wise, like you literally cannot do it, and it's like don't push other people.
It's like this too. Like even like when you're in school, right? There's certain teachers, like for math for me, there are certain teachers I can learn math from. I know how good they are as a teacher. But there's other teachers, their teaching style I'm not going to learn anything from. I just don't get it from them.
Oh, right, yeah, totally, yeah.
It's kind of
okay, but so do you think it's the the method, or do you think it's
I mean, it could be. Like, again, I don't think anything is like solid in that sense. Like, maybe this teaching method does not work for you. But I don't know, right? Like, maybe this style or this whatever this method is. Some people, it's like also for like certain like depression. There's certain drugs that work and certain drugs that don't work for some people. It all depends on which you have to find the drug that works for you, kind of thing.
Right, totally. And that makes you kind of, if you understand this, I feel like it makes you accept people more.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There was this like event yesterday. I won't give the specific details, but like something happened and I didn't take offense and Tara took offense. And I was like, that's interesting that your approach is different to my approach, right? And because there's two ways to look at it, okay? So Tara's perspective is like, I want people to change, right? And like for the better. So her taking a slight at this thing was her wanting that person to change. Okay, like change their behavior. Because then it'll affect like other people. Whereas for me, I was like, oh, that's you. I'm just going to ignore that part of you and like go on with my life. I will never see you again for the rest of my life. I don't need to add any more energy into this interaction. So it's like, maybe like understanding that everyone's different, it allows you to have that perspective of like, I don't need to waste my energy on this.
Yeah.
You know, but if you want people to be universal or like to make a difference, you have to engage with like some disharmony. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
but that's the world, right? Nothing. It's not always going to be the workout for you, kind of thing. It's like it's not. I think it's just. I think that's how I viewed it. It's like everyone's different. Everyone's got a different story. So it's like.
That's how I view it too.
Yeah. So
it's like whatever, bro.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but go on.
No. Yeah, so that's how. That's why it's like it's hard for me. Even like a lot of things, like they fall into the religion aspect or some craziness about their religion. It's like I can't blame them. That's their path that they had fallen into, right? Maybe I would have done the same thing if I potentially had the same. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Cool. Okay, this is kind of like dovetailing to a different topic now. I didn't write it down, but then you reminded me. Okay, we'll just start talking about it. The vow on. Do you remember Allison? I'm not fully.
Oh, you mean the show? Oh, the docuseries thing you're talking about?
Oh my god, dude, it is crazy. So, do you remember Allison Mack?
Yeah.
And her whole controversy with like the sex slaves and like whatever, they're branding each other. That's what this documentary is about.
Yeah. I heard that that was coming out. I didn't know it was out until you said it. But yeah.
Well, what's wild is I didn't think it was this. Like, all right, well, first of all, I didn't think anyone would ever make a documentary about this. I can't wait for the Jeffrey Epstein documentary after this. But like, this is wild, bro. Like, it's like you said, they want you to believe. If I was in their situation, I was desperate too, I might end up in that as well.
Right, exactly. I think so. They know. It's like it's knowing your audience. That's what it is, right? You're trying to zone in or get people that have similar traits or have fallen into that kind of thing that they know that they can get to come into their group. That's any cult.
Right. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Or religion. Cult is technically a religion. What's the difference between a cult and a religion?
Right. I mean, it happens. Literally. Right. And it happens all the time, right? This is one of them. One of the bigger ones with somewhat of a famous actor, or actress. So there was one. There's so many different ones that have happened over time, right? So it's like this is not a new thing. I mean,
it's not new.
Yeah, it's not totally new. Wild Wild Country. Was it Wild Wild Country? Yeah. So there's another one. So it's like
Yeah, no, totally. But it's weird that it's like you're selling truth. So when you're watching this thing
Yeah.
in the beginning, when they're explaining what all of these things are, like these ways to like self-develop. Sorry, I think it's going off. To self-develop yourself. When you're watching it, like this is true. Like everything you're saying here is not a lie.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah, like even
But
Scientology.
right, there are aspects of like a common one. When I heard this, I was like, "Ooh, that's an interesting one," because I've heard that been used before, and I wonder if they invented it. Like a limiting belief. So if you're like, oh, I want to, I don't know, I want to run a 5K marathon. I can never do it. Then they call that a limiting belief, and you have to figure out ways to overcome your limiting belief to do what it is you want to do. That's a true statement. But they were like saying it, and then it was motivating people, and then like they were getting more people with these real lessons. And then it turned into a sex cult. You know what I mean? It's like, it's so weird how you can just like get them and then you just flip it, you know?
Yeah, it's that's where it's like they're to a point. That's how you get people in, and then once they're in, sometimes it's hard to leave. That's another aspect to it too,
because they believe in it.
Yeah,
they're like,
now
these are real lessons.
Exactly. Like you've come to a point where, oh, this is my life.
That's what they were saying in the thing.
If I leave it, I have nothing else. That's why
and they're
you
like,
stay.
who am I?
Exactly.
Yeah. They were literally saying that like these people at the top level, when they started to hear about all these like sex slave things, they're like having cognitive dissonance. They're like, I can't leave. Like, what do you mean? This is obviously, they were like, this is not real. That's not true. You know, because they didn't want their identity to be shattered.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's so interesting how we can fall into those traps. Like Tara, as we were watching it, Tara's like, oh, you'd be susceptible to this. And she's like, I'd also be susceptible to this. And I was like, for me, I was like, not anymore. Because I already went through it, you know, went through a very similar thing. And it's like, this is how people manipulate other people, you know? But it's happening like even right now.
Yep.
Because this was 2019 when this was going. I was like, what? This is like right before COVID? Like, what's going on? You know? And you're just like, what else? And they've had offices around the world. It was a big organization.
Right. Yeah.
You know, but like we just, you know, like Primerica?
Yes.
Have you heard of that?
Yeah.
Do you know what Primerica is?
Is it the triangle thing? Whatever.
Yeah. It's like a triangle thing. Yeah. It's a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah.
So basically, they tell you to like sign up other members, and then when you sign up other members, it's like you have to pay in, and then you get paid out from their paying. It's there's so many other ones like that. Arbonne.
There's so many like
that.
Like, I know.
Right?
I've been to some of those.
Yeah, right, totally. But the crazy part is Primerica's worldwide. So it's like, what? And then you see the Vow documentary, and you're like, oh, this corporation is worldwide.
Right.
So, and then you find out that they have this weird, like, sex cult thing with the leader. But this is like 2020, like we're in year 2000, bro. How is this still happening?
Yeah, people are very susceptible. Like it's knowledge. It's when the people are lonely or whatever they're looking for, right?
A lot of them were actresses. Yeah, and they were like, "Oh, I can't make it as an actor." Like the Battlestar Galactica girl was there, like two of them.
Oh, really?
Smallville girl was there. Yeah, dude. When you see it, you're like, "Whoa, this is like it's a real thing." Kristen Crook was in it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yo. And it's weird too, because like, so what they did was they gave you sashes. It's literally like martial arts belt ranking system. So every time you signed up a certain amount of people, they'd give you a stripe on your sash.
Okay.
You know, and then you want to hit your fourth stripe. And then when you hit your fourth stripe, you get the next belt. And then that belt means that you're higher than other people. And then you have to call them certain names, right? Like Vanguard was their name.
Right.
Like you'd be like, hello, Vanguard. Interesting, right? But like, think about my martial arts experience too, right? Like with the weird cultiness of it. And it was like, that's literally how cults begin.
Yeah. True.
I still remember as this one moment when I was starting to like get disillusioned by the whole thing, and then this one person was like, "Oh, I wish the master was here." I won't use the word we use because then it'll be too obvious. It was like, "I wish the master was here." I was like, "To help us as an extra pair of hands." And but to her, she was like, "No, he can lift this by himself." I'm like, "Are you?" It was a 2-ton like wagon,
right?
So there was like 4 of us, and we couldn't lift it. And I'm like, dude, this is too heavy. And then she was like, "If the master was here, we would lift it."
Right. Yeah. See,
like for an extra pair of like, okay, so we'd have 5 people. But then she really believed like he could summon his powers and like lift the thing up.
Right.
And you're like, wait, this is not logically what are we talking about here? You know?
Mm-hmm.
It's so trippy.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be the last one. There will always be something.
Right. and then it's also like, what was really crazy was like things like brick breaking.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I used to do that stuff, and like I became really good at brick breaking, right? But it was about like there are good lessons in there, like overcoming your limiting belief, you know, of like, oh, I can't break this, or like pushing through pain. That's what I got out of it. But what they were like, we were able to harness our like chi and do anything we want with it, right? But then Jared was like, no, that's science, bro. And then I was like, what do you mean? He's like explaining how forces work. And I was like, oh, that's all we're doing. And then that's how I got good at breaking. I just realized the trick.
Right. So
that's break anything.
Right. Yeah. That's the thing, right? There's a form of gullibility, right? That if you don't have those answers, right?
Yeah.
So, but that's why, I don't know, a lot of these places, they don't want you to have like friends outside.
Oh my, that's so funny that even that example. Remember, like, I was the only one in this thing, and then you guys were always like, seems kind of weird. and they're like, oh, bring your friend here. And I was like, yeah, come on, you guys try a class. So you guys tried the class. You're like, oh, it's not for me. You know, it's a little weird. There's something weird going on here.
But that's the thing, is you have to have friends outside of those types of groups to be able to like level yourself a bit. It's like, because if you just have those friends inside of whatever group it is, you're going to start believing
like a vacuum.
It's going to become that, because that's all you're talking to. That's the only people that you're talking to, right?
So in the vow, they were like, oh, why is everyone so nice in this cult, right? They didn't call it a cult, but they were like, why is everyone so nice in this thing? It's because, and the leader was like, yeah, it's because we've built the society of like consciously aware people, and we want to change the world by being good humans. Mm-hmm. It's a good point, right? Which is also what I was going through during my martial arts time. You know, it's like, why is everyone here so polite? Well, it's because we're following the code of the martial artists, whatever, right? And they would say that anyone outside, the reason why they don't want you to have friends outside is because they're not on the same level. Mm-hmm. It's like they're still stuck trying to be human, whereas we're evolving past our humanity. Mm-hmm. And you're like at the time, I was like, yeah, okay, I could totally see it. I get your point. But it's like, you don't live in that world. Like, going back to the shot, it's like, there's a prime example is you could do all this training and your mind will still there's a human element to your being, you know?
Yeah.
But they believe that you can push past it. And with that belief of only being like a higher enlightened being, they're like selling you the cult. Yeah. You know? It's like, we could all be like this. You're like, oh, we could all be like this. Weird. It's trippy. Yeah. I'm excited to see how far it goes, because it turns out that Allison Mack is the leader of, so it's like the leader and then Allison Mack.
Oh, really?
And Allison Mack is doing all of the craziness. She's in jail though, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah. Dude, it's so trippy.
I've seen because the Lex Luthor guy has a podcast, I believe.
Yeah, right? And he's like, she was young. Yeah, like we never hung out.
That's why they never really hung out, because they were on the younger side. So
yeah, but you loved Smallville. That's why I like brought this up. It's like it's so crazy when you see it. And the fact that you see like behind the scenes footage of like Kristen Kruk attending these events, you're like, whoa.
That's probably why like she left the industry for a while, or that's what it felt like.
That's what I was thinking too. But then she left in the cult thing. Like, it got too weird. So
I think she got to that point. She figured, yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, you're finished with it.
Oh, that just so like the turning point was when they started to get these girls and like brand them. So the first thing you have to do is give collateral. So you have to say something that you would never want the world to know, right? And then the main person's like,
see,
right?
that's no, but that's a thing of like, see, when you do that, they have leverage. That's a leverage thing.
Yeah, that was the point. And then the main girl was like, I don't have anything that's crazy. And then she's like, just lie. So she filmed this video saying all these lies that weren't true, but just so that they would have collateral on her.
Exactly.
And then the collateral became this trippy, naked photos. And then they started to be like, okay, you had to give collateral every month.
Oh, what?
Yeah, dude, it was crazy.
Okay, how do you not know by that time this is going to be misused?
Yeah. And then she said during the branding ceremony, they drove to Alice and Mac's house, and they were just like, one by one, were being like burned with I guess it's like, soldering. Like when you're like you're that hot thing, and then you put the metal. They're using that, just burning the girls.
Oh my god.
And they're all like squirming, and then she's like saying the story, and it was just like, but then, okay, so with her experience, they have like masters and slaves, that's what they call it. So like the master is the one ahead of you, and then the slave is basically your servant. So the main girl, her master comes over, is like, everyone here is weak, you need to show them your strength. So then the slave got branded, and then she was like, but she took it with like such focus that everyone's like, oh my god, look at her, she's like a true inspiration. And then she was so proud of her brand after that, because she was like, I overcame something that I didn't think I could do. Which is kind of freaking me out, because now I'm thinking about how we used to get beat with Shania's. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. This is very similar to things that I've been through. It's very odd.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of similarities. They all go through the same kind of things.
But it's true, though. Like, that's a real lesson.
I'm not saying but it's like how you attract them with the real lesson, but the other aspects of that you're doing is now weird. Like that's not normal.
Collateral thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that is weird. Yeah. And then I think what they theorize is somebody approached Kristen Crook, and then she was like, I'm not giving collateral, and then she like left. But the fact that this actually happened and like it's prevalent, it's like the Jeffrey Epstein thing is not shocking now. It was shocking in the beginning, but then you hear all these other things, you're like, wait, this is just a thing.
Right.
Which is kind of messed up. You're just like, what other things do we not know that's going on in life? Yeah,
I don't know. There's all sorts of cults around the world, but we don't know.
But not just not just cults, but like everything, and like you just don't know what's really going on. Like with the this is what I want to bring this up too, the Steven Spielberg TikTok you sent me.
Yeah.
Where he's like, oh, they could be anthropologists from the future, and they're just like trying to record something, like the lead up to something that happens in the future. Like that's a great theory. But just the sheer fact that there's UAPs going around and we don't even know what that is, it's like, what else don't we know?
Right.
But the crazy part is people feel so certain about what they know.
Yeah, that's yeah. Because it's about control, I guess. If there are people that, I mean, that's also, the religion is the same kind of aspect, right? It's to
yes, yeah.
I don't know how many people really can handle that, like the answer of I don't know.
Yes, that's true. Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah,
right. Some people really, really need. No, what was there before the Big Bang? Oh, right? Like, we can't say I don't know. Like, that just doesn't fit well in their mind. They need to know. So the religion aspect fits that very good for them.
Okay, what about dinosaurs too? Like those people that believe in that. It's like, how do you explain dinosaurs? There were no humans during the time of the dinosaur. But you could see the bones. So where was God then?
Right.
Like, what? Like...
Right, yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah, I did. Again, that's also part of the like blocking out some of the parts. Like that we don't have to think about that. You know what I mean? It's like
right.
it doesn't
Totally.
have to
Yeah,
be
yeah,
at
for
the
sure.
main memory. It's just like on the side
So
end.
it at least fits the story
Yeah.
of what you're trying to do. But this goes back to the thing of maybe certain people have a propensity towards
Mm-hmm.
things. It's like their brain just can't handle that thing. Maybe that is really the truth. It's like certain minds cannot handle the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And when they hear it, they kind of spin the truth in a different direction.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like or they're paying attention. Like the Elon Musk thing that I said last week when I was like sending the video, I was like, oh, listen to this. He's actually explaining things. And they were like paying attention to the fact that he said my dog's the CEO. I'm like, no, that's a joke. Like, listen to the actual context of
Mm-hmm.
what this thing is,
Right.
you know? But like, actually, oh wait, all right, this is a great example. I was going to talk about this too. The the book Brave New World. Remember I talked about like last week and like how it's supposed to be about technology.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so the whole what I was sold on for this book was that it's about the future, and we have these like pleasure states or whatever that we can sedate ourselves with, right? And it's like a dystopian world
Mm-hmm.
of like, what if everyone was just like happy all the time? So I read the book, and I'm like, that's not what this is about. The book is about a drug that they've created to make people happy. So the real question of the book is, do you just want to be happy all the time, or do you need suffering? Because there's like two characters that are like, there's one character called the Savage, and he doesn't believe in the drug called Soma.
Okay.
So like this drug called Soma will like make you forget your problems. Basically, it's like they say it's like a Soma vacation,
Mm-hmm.
right? But this person doesn't believe in that drug.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right.
But it's like, how did I read that and get this? How did you read that and get this?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, are you not looking at the real message here?
Sometimes,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
It's like,
Sometimes
we looked at the same book, bro.
Yeah, but sometimes it's like you read the same book, but we're blocking out certain things or attracted to certain things more than something else. So,
Ooh, that's a fair point. Actually, that's true. Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's true. It's like maybe they were reading like the love story portion of the book. It's like, oh, this is a book about a love story.
mm-hmm.
But I was looking at it like, what is this philosophy? What are you trying to teach me? I feel like every book has a teaching lesson. It's like, what's the lesson here?
Sure, yeah. But I don't think
okay.
So that you're coming at it from that perspective, but other people are not coming at it from that perspective, right?
Yes. Right.
They're looking for a love. So they're coming. Other people, as I said, they're coming at it from they want to see the love story perspective. You're coming at it from a teaching perspective. What is it going to teach me? Like, you know what I mean? Everybody has a different story of foundation of where they're starting at and looking at the story as.
Oh, that's an interesting point. Yeah. Yeah, because I read the Michelle Obama book as well, and then I was discussing it with this other person, and I was like, oh, that's like, it's interesting how she like over like she focused on, you know, human development and like making girls better and all that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then this person was like, oh yeah, like that's cool. I really love how she had hardship growing up. And I was like, what? That was just like a basic part of this. That wasn't the real message, you know? But it's like, why did your mind gravitate towards that?
Mm-hmm.
But you're right, though. It's like your frame of reference when you're reading these things.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, what are you looking for in this? Going back to the thing, it's like, how are we hardwired? Like, people are hardwired different.
Yeah.
You know?
That's the only way. That's the only way the world makes it like interesting of a world. Because if everyone's hardwired the same, it'd be pretty boring.
It'd be boring. Yeah, true. We'd all just be like robots.
Yeah.
But then, like, what does this even mean? Like, when you really look at, like, okay, I'm gonna ask you this question, and like, let's examine it. Like, why are we here? There's two questions. Why are we here, and what is the meaning of life?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, why are we here?
Why are we here? we're just here. That's like, there is no answer to that, right? If it's, everybody puts a story to it, right? We, like, if you're coming at it from a science thing, it's just happenstance that a couple of these cells got together and now we're here.
Yeah.
Or God put us here.
Right. And both can't, they're like mutually exclusive.
Mm-hmm.
Or they can't be mutually. So basically, if they just cancel each other out, they both can't be true.
Yeah.
And if they're both not true, then it means that nothing is true.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
No. I mean, both can't, it's not necessarily both can't be true. I mean, both can be true.
Okay.
Or one or the other is true. We don't know. But it's this is the foundation of how you would view your life.
For sure. Totally.
Right.
But you said like that you don't think that there is a meaning of life. Oh, no. There is no meaning to why we're here. Like, why are we here? It's like you can't answer that.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you can, scientifically. Yeah, no. You can't defeat that. Why are we here? Because of cells.
If you go at it like that, sure, yeah. I'm saying like as this spirit, as this kind of being. Or if you're saying like as general aspect, why are we here? Well, then you can say like, yeah, we're atoms. We're just atoms.
Yeah.
So that's why we're here.
But if we are just atoms and that's why we're here, that's really freaky for people.
Yeah.
Because they're like, I want to be more than just atoms.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like we want to be greater than, but we are equal to everything.
Mm-hmm.
No, but actually though, like really think about that. It's trippy. Like the periodic table is just like atoms.
Mm-hmm.
We are made up of everything that's on the periodic table. So we are literally just like everyone else.
Yeah.
We are all one.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But that doesn't seem like acceptable to a mind that wants to be unique.
Mm-hmm.
Because we all want to be unique.
Yes.
It's almost like a snowflake, right? Like snowflakes are unique, but then when you look at them as a whole, it's like, oh, it's just a snowflake. It's just snowing.
Yeah.
Right? Snowflakes and snowing.
So we're all connected in that sense. We're all connected to the universe.
Yeah.
Right. But we all have our own individual design.
We're like the fingerprint of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're all uniquely different. That could be how you reconcile the two. It's like you are meaningful but not meaningful.
Right.
You know, it's like you're special but not also not special.
Yeah, but there's a certain point to it too, right? It's like even I think as a fingerprint, it's like I don't know what the number was, like or 1 in a billion. Someone will have the same one.
No,
I don't know. I don't know the number is. I don't know what the number is. But like there has to be a point where it's not infinite.
That's true. Actually, if it is infinite, then it would also include the fact that there's somebody that's a duplicate of you.
Yeah.
You mean it's like it's not an asymptote. Like it's not. Yeah, it's not like
yeah.
Yeah, that would be pretty trippy. Because there are people, if you like look at them, you're like, oh, this person looks almost identical to this person, like doppelgangers, right?
Yeah.
Like you guys look identical. It's because like the universe has a finite number of configurations it can make.
Probably, yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then the next thing is like, what is the meaning of life?
See, this in the broad aspect, if you look at it individualistically, there isn't.
Yeah, I agree.
Right, but the meaning of life is what we make of that.
Right, and that's why I was like, life is just a story you tell yourself. It's like whatever you want it to be is what it'll be.
Mm-hmm.
But even in that, you see like the uniqueness because like every story is different, but also not unique because we're all just lying to ourselves.
Yeah.
But those two things are scary, you know, like for a regular human being.
Yeah, this is a problem with when our mind became, you know, self-aware kind of thing.
Yeah. No, for real though, because it's like before then, it didn't care about differentiating. It was like, I don't have time for that. Like I'm just running.
I wonder. This is See, this is like kind of like how evolution works too. It's like our certain traits that stick out. Um, we needed the mind for a specific thing to survive, right? But we grew the mind to the point where now we're too self-aware.
Yeah, no, totally. For real, for real.
So what is the next evolution from that, right?
Maybe it's harmony. Like understanding. Like that was like, to go back to the tetanus shot thing, it's like that was such an eye-opening experience for me that I was like, oh, no matter how much I train this thing, I can't control the body's response. Like I logically knew there was nothing happening to me, but logic wasn't enough. It was like, oh,
right.
And it's like that's the thing. I think that's the next step. You have to like understand that there are two working parts to you. We get so caught up in the one working part, which is like the mind.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that like line of the devil where it's like the devil's greatest trick was that he made you believe he didn't exist. There's something to that with the mind too. It's like the mind's greatest trick is making you think that it was the most important thing.
Right.
Right? You know what I'm trying to say?
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
You don't know that the trick is being played. But it's freaky when you find that out. Like, you know what I mean? Like, can like actually thinking about that, can most people accept that reality? That they have this thing called a mind that's controlling a lot of their behaviors. And you can like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's like you have the body, the mind, and then the I guess like the id, the ego, and the superego, very similar, but not really. Like you have the body that does its own thing. You have the mind, which is kind of like the working tool, and then there's something above the mind that can like override the mind. It can become self-aware of the mind. You know what I'm trying to say? It's like,
yeah, I see what you're trying to say. Yeah. But it's still not in control. Yeah.
And it's like, can people accept those three aspects of their being? Like, is that too much information for some people? No, like I'm actually asking,
no,
is
I
that
think
too
so.
much information for some people?
I think so. Yes.
You think so?
Yeah. I think only certain people can hear these kind of things. Or they've already like
tuned it out.
Yeah.
So where does that leave us? It's like, is it better to know, or is it better to be blissfully ignorant?
Well, I guess I don't know how many people exist like us, let's say. So maybe we're the odd ducks, right? So,
but I feel like scientists think the same way. That's why I gravitate towards like Joe Rogan and like certain individuals. You could see it. You're like, oh, they're seeing the same thing as me, so I'm gonna go in that direction. Like Kanye West, you know, even though he says a lot of stuff that like is questionable, he understands it too. It's like there's these three working parts. You know?
Yeah. But I don't, again, I know what you're saying, but we don't know what he understands, how much, these are people that we don't really know. Right?
Yeah, fair. Even people listening to this podcast, like you don't really know. Like, we're giving you our honest opinion, because I feel like I'm just talking to you, but people are listening to this, but like you still don't really know the daily interaction of what it's like to be around us. You know what I mean? It's like you still only get a glimpse. Yeah. I don't know, it's just freaking me out now because I'm like, but it's all right. So it's weird because like you can see somebody with a problem, like that you can solve. It's like, oh, it's just your mind, right? And then you try and tell them, and then they think you have the answer, which you do, but then they're like, how do you, like, you must have, like, they kind of put you on a pedestal.
That's a problem.
Like,
that's
no.
a problem. That's a problem. Yeah. So, but that we do that all the time, though, right? Like that's such a human thing to do, though. The only reason that these cults or religions with, priests or whoever it is like that come into power like this is there's a reason we always put people on the pedestal. That's no matter, like, that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Right.
Totally. But I'm wondering, can you break that? So I'll give you an example. So if you're listening to this, I'm surprised you'll listen to this because I don't think you would have ever listened to this. But if you are, great for you. So like my work friend, right? Dealing with a lot of like problems, like a lot of like mental problems. No. She's not like crazy or anything, but just like obvious, simple things. It's like, oh, just do this. And then it's like, she's kind of wowed at the fact that I have answers.
Mm-hmm.
But I keep shooting everything, like I keep normalizing everything, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And jokingly, she called me sensei. And I was like, I just jokingly like you try and be human because it's like, this isn't special. It's just I just understand something. It's like, no, it's like, I heard this analogy before. If you're in a dark room and you're like, they're like, just exit the room. And you keep bumping your head. They turn on the lights, and it's like, oh, you just had to duck under the
right.
Like the banisters, just a little too high, But you didn't see that because it was dark.
Mm-hmm.
So all I've done is like I've turned on the lights. I'm like, oh, there's an exit right there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But like anyone could, or maybe I'm just eating my own words because maybe not everyone can do it.
Not saying that everyone can do it, because this. Also, it's like this experience isn't, I wouldn't even say it's individual, like isn't only our story. Like there's people who write about this, right? It's
yes. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Right.
This is common.
It's that's the thing. I think a lot of stuff that we talk about or happens in the world is quite common if you just read the books. It's there. People have written. People have documented this stuff. It's not like
yes. It's not. It's just where your interest lies. We're just fascinated by this thing.
Yeah.
So we like view it in this way.
Mm-hmm.
But like you could also turn on the lights and look underneath, and it'll be like, "There's the exit."
Right.
Right.
Sometimes, that's the thing. Like you just, I don't know. Is it right necessarily to give the answer? Because then that makes
the person like kind of puts you
or versus like, hey, you should check this book out, or so that they reach it
themselves.
That
they'll never.
But that's
I try that.
I know. But that's the thing, right? It's like, like if you give the answer, this is what's going to happen. If they never reach it themselves, or ever at a later point, they'll end up reaching it at that point. But it's like the pedestal thing is going to happen if you're just giving the answers. That's going to happen.
True. My attempt is humanizing it with like other things. I'm like,
even it doesn't matter how much you try to do it though.
Yeah. That's true. Cause then it's like, you have the answer for them.
Yeah. Or it's like, instead of like turning on the light, it's like, it's because you're giving
reach over there.
It's like, instead of just reaching on the surface, why don't you like check around your feet or something? It's like,
yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
And then them find it in the dark room versus turning on the light and giving them, oh, it's just there.
That's interesting that you say that, because in the process of learning this, I was also told that is like the best way, because I've had many teachers, and like the teachers that have taught me the most meaningful lessons, they did that. They were like, here is like the pebble, here's the pebble, and you like get there and you're like, oh, I get it now. And they're like, okay, well, they wanted me to stick around, but I was like, I know the answer now. Like, I've gotten what I wanted, I'm gonna leave, but I think it's more, I just don't like to waste the time. I'm just like, here's the goddamn answer.
Yeah.
It's like, oh,
yeah, I get it. Yeah, there's a level. Yeah, there's a level of patience in that kind of thing. But
I don't have the patience, I guess. I'm just like, here's the goddamn answer. Just chill. Right. This is not a problem.
Yeah, but then you have to know what is the repercussions of that. That's the only thing.
That's true too. Yeah. Yeah. It's so difficult navigating human. Oh, I was going to say, Did you see the video of the person interviewing somebody from 1968? I posted it.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
so
yeah,
basically,
yeah,
oh,
yeah.
you saw it? All right, cool. So just for people who
Like the
haven't,
hippies you're talking about?
yeah. So
Yeah.
people who don't know, like they were interviewing hippies in 1968, and all of the stuff that they're saying is stuff that we've all talked about in today's society. And then they're like, oh, nothing ever changes, blah, blah, blah. Like same time, different era. But having read really ancient text, I'm like, they're literally regurgitating more ancient text. It's like we've literally always been talking about the same things, like for as long as we've been human, which you've told me before,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
There's
Like,
another. There's a thing
yeah.
that they the reason has always been the same, and also it's always generally the younger generation because
Okay.
they're not in the working world yet.
Oh yeah, fair.
So they have food at the table because their parents are working. They don't realize that.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right.
So that they have
You're
the
right.
time
Yeah.
to read and think and do all that stuff because you have the time to do it.
Oh my goodness. Wait. Sapiens. The only reason why in the book, the only reason why they were able to expand their consciousness and like level of understanding of the world is because they invented agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't need to go hunt anymore. The
Exactly.
food was right at the
Yeah.
table, which is literally what you just described.
Mm-hmm.
If you have all of the resources in front of you, you have an infinite amount of time to just evolve your understanding, your level of consciousness, all that stuff. You can like be philosophical because
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
But this is where it goes wrong. To go back to the shot again, it's like I think that that's the way, but then you're hit with reality and you're like,
Exactly.
ooh, you got to account for other
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. This is why their parents were doing this. This is why they're like.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
You have to get a job. You have to, et cetera,
Yeah.
et cetera. Yeah. Because everyone I know who's in that zone, this is all right. This is not uncommon though. Like the industry that I work in, so a lot of people who like work as instructors, they basically are like floaters. Like they have no consistent income. They jump from job to job. They're just searching for like whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're living a very carefree life. But what are the ramifications of that carefree life? Like you're not going to buy a house. You're not going to have a family.
Right.
Like it's literally not sustainable.
Yeah.
Like the older people like have left that kind of like
Mm-hmm.
gig economy kind of thing. And I find that with yogis too and like martial artists, that's the exact same thing. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like it's really not sustainable, that lifestyle, unless you live at home and everything's paid for.
Yeah.
Like the only reason why I could go so down the rabbit hole of like martial arts is because like I didn't really have to pay for anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I could pursue this thing, you know, and I see now like other instructors and they're so prideful of their position. Like I'm in front of everyone. I'm an instructor. I was like, I've played this game before. You feel prideful. You feel like a leader. Probably not paying your bills though. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it's an illusion.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we have to I think the future is balance. I think that's where we'll unless we get universal basic income and everyone should just like become a yogi and like whatever.
I don't know,
You know what I
how
mean?
much detrimental that could be to society or not. We don't know the ramifications of that too.
That actually, wait, that's so funny that it reminded me of the book because in the book, one thing that they said was like, what if we reduce everyone's working hours? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it was proposed. And then somebody said, like the higher up person was like, we tried that before 150 years ago in Ireland. It's not real. This is just in the book.
Okay.
So they said that they were able to reduce everyone's working hours. So they only worked 4 hours a day.
Okay.
Okay. Which kind of sounds like what we're aspiring to. But what they found was that they just ended up like using more of the drug soma because they're just like doing nothing, and then they lost the meaning in their life. Like it was detrimental,
right?
Because the person was like, well, why are lower caste people? They call them lower caste, basically working class people. Like, why are they still stuck doing 9 to 5 long hour jobs? And they're like, because they need something to do.
Right.
We gave them that before, and they just like went haywire. Maybe that is what could happen too, if we all get like UBI, nobody has to work. Because Elon Musk said that too, right? He's like, the biggest question in the future will not be how do you get money or whatever. It's like, what is the meaning of your life?
Right.
Because if you take away somebody's job, now what do you do?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, who are you? You know?
Yeah.
What time are we at? Because I want to ask you about the SpaceX.
Hour and 9 minutes.
Okay, super. Okay, so SpaceX. Speaking of Elon Musk, the god. Wait, hold on. Let me just say one last thing. Okay. So I was in this like I was in this gathering, let's say. I was in this gathering, and this person was like, yeah, I'm not too sure if Twitter's the way, because, you know, Elon Musk bought Twitter, and, you know, Elon Musk is like kind of whatever. Mind you, I also sent this person the Elon Musk video, and I'm like, it's logical reasoning for why he did all of these things. But it's just funny because it's like, did you look into it, or are you still just listening to what other people are saying about this thing, and you're just regurgitating an opinion? You know, because in the thing, so like he was like, I don't think Twitter is good. It's the way. And in the interview, Elon Musk is like, all of our advertisers are back. You know, because remember, like, oh, we're boycotting Twitter, whatever. And then he said, like, he's like, well, maybe the smaller ones, but if you look at like Apple, all these other ones that are like these big name companies, I would look at them like, where are you spending your money? Oh, you're still spending with us? Perfect. You know, like, we're not at risk of dying. So it's like, are we?
It's not going away. Twitter, it is. It is. And I think it's just because it's the thing to just talk about, and then eventually just be like, oh, it's just.
But now you just look like an idiot to somebody who actually knows. And Elon Musk said that too. He said it in the interview. He's like, when you read an article about something and you actually know about that thing, you just look at the reporter as an idiot, because you're like, no, I actually know what this thing is. Yeah. So like that person saying like, oh, I don't think Twitter's the way, and I was like, you didn't look at it. Like, you're just saying it without actually knowing. You just look like an idiot now. Anyways, all right, go ahead with the SpaceX. This will come back later. That's why I brought it up.
The interesting thing with the SpaceX thing was, people that don't like Elon are just a little bit irritated by Elon. The way that they're posting it or headlining it was like a failure kind of thing.
Pause. That's what I was hoping you were going to say. That's exactly what I thought happened. I texted you, and I was like, what happened with the SpaceX thing? Like,
so that's why I texted you in a specific way. My message was like, it did explode, because that's the message, was that it exploded and it's a failure. I said it did explode, but it was a success. So,
and I was like, okay,
how does that make sense?
Because my feed was like, it blew up. I was like, what's going on?
And my dad understood it too, right? Because he's in the R&D, so research and development kind of thing, right?
Okay.
So because of that background, it's like, this is called a test. Anything that happens in a test is a success. There's no such thing as a failure in a test. The main thing of the test was, is this going to get off the ground? That was the main of the reason of the test. Anything happens after that is a plus.
Yeah. Oh, that's so obvious.
So wow. That's why if you look at I think it was National Geographic's headline, they had it right, because they're just focused on the science.
Okay. What did they?
No, they're just saying like, I don't remember exactly, but I know that was a successful launch and it exploded, which is true. Like they didn't put anything like a spin to it in the word of failure.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Because it was a success.
Man, that's so funny.
And if you've followed enough of, like, even Elon, like, I've seen all the different things. It's like where the thing is standing on, the rocket thing is standing on, is underneath that base kind of thing, or the foundation is just a flat concrete slab.
Okay.
Right. In other ones, it's like they have like it like shoots into the like a tunneling so that all the heat or something would go in a certain direction because you're using so much of the rocket fuel.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Yep.
So like he even mentioned before, it's like, it might not be a good idea, but we're just testing. We're just trying to see what happens. So like, everything was just a test. Okay. Like they've been saying this over and over. And if you watch the live stream, even those, the announcers, were like, if it gets off the ground, that's the success.
Wow.
Even if it didn't get off the ground, funny. It just tells you like, okay, we had to come back here. Let's figure out what the issue was. It's not like a test is just anything that happens in a test is right. Everything you're learning from.
We're just going to see what happens with this
exactly
thing.
That's what it was.
That's so funny. It goes back to the interview from last week when like they're like, oh, Elon Musk says that it was hard for him to fire other people. It's like, oh my God, you took the most like salacious headline and just put that there, but like you didn't give it context.
Mm-hmm. But then it's also, see, the media is also falling into that thing where it's like they think that people want this headline, that kind of headline,
like the I hate Elon Musk headlines.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but it's so dumb because it's like you agree with the Tesla thing, right? So like, how can he be wrong in one? How can he be the biggest buffoon or the biggest genius? That makes no sense. He's either a buffoon or a genius.
Yeah, but do people not realize what has happened? Like, he was viewed as Iron Man, and everybody liked that.
Exactly.
So how did that shift happen? God. But if you've been actually following him, it's like, no, this is all like this. He's been like this.
Dude, it's pro wrestling.
Yeah.
But for real though,
no, yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Like they play like the heel, and then they play like the hero. You know, like we as a society just want to build you up and bring you down, build you up, bring you down. I've heard that before, like with a lot of celebrities, like be ready for the fall because everyone loves to build you up, but their biggest fun is tearing you down.
Yeah.
And I think that's where you and I are both like, look at your body of work, though. He was Iron Man before. Yeah, he was like the real life Iron Man.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? I just don't get what is people's problem. What do people have a problem with? Like, I actually don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. It's like,
is it because he's like a billionaire? So everybody, but then that just says more about you. It's like, are you just susceptible to headlines? Like, have you introspected? Like, you can't tell me something is a certain way if you don't know the facts. Unless it's just for fun. Okay, so a good example. I was having dinner with your brother yesterday, and he asked me, how much is it to build a house in the Philippines? I just gave an educated guess. I was like, yeah, probably like $200,000. Tara started laughing her head off, and she's like, this man's just lying. And I was like, what? And she's like, you've never looked into it. I'm like, I'm just making it educated. But it's like, he's not running that decision off of my actual, like, advice.
Yeah,
I'm not really giving him advice. I'm just like, yeah, it's probably like around $200,000. Like, you know, like, we're just like shooting the shit, you know, like we're just letting it, like, whatever, right? Is that where most people operate in society then? It's
they do.
Most conversation, they don't actually care about Elon Musk. They're just like, oh, we're all talking about Elon Musk being bad. All right, cool. Yeah, he's bad.
I'm like, there's no way people are thinking. Yeah, I think so. I think there's no way people are thinking about Elon Musk 24/7. Like you know what I mean? Like that kind of level of hate. What, like, when does he come up in your mind? Only when you're reading it.
But it's weird because it's like right unless you go out and search it.
Yeah.
But it's also a trigger for them because you're like Elon Musk, and they're like, oh, I hate that guy. You're like, why do you hate that guy? No, I've like actually experienced this like professionally because because he is a business person, so like business people have opinions, and I'm like the only person that likes him in my circles. I'm like, what are you talking about? Right. He's like the most genius marketer,
but because
business person.
See, I think it's because we've been following him for a long time. Like we've seen some like. This is he hasn't changed. There's nothing about Elon Musk has changed over the time. It's just the same.
For real though, like yeah. and his advice is so logical.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, you know, but the perspective of the mass hates him now, and that's pro wrestling. Like,
Yeah.
like when you have like The Rock, great example. The Rock played heel and he also played hero.
Mm-hmm.
There was a time in The Rock's life when he walked out and the whole crowd was like, boo. And then now they cheer his name.
Right.
But like that, like pro wrestling is a microcosm of humanity because we're all in the stands yelling something and they're just performing in front of us.
Yeah.
Like for real though.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Because like Elon Musk was the hero before. Now he's playing the heel. It's like, what? Why? So like human behavior is so, we really are a collective species. You know, that's
Yeah,
like,
we are. Yeah. Yes.
that just looks at what other people are doing and then we just base our belief system off of that thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it very much reminds me of there's a thing in Keel and Peele, like where they're talking about movie reviews.
Okay.
And it's like giving your true opinion is being judged.
Oh yeah, facts.
So to not be judged, you just agree with everybody else.
Facts. That's true. Okay, wait, you know what? All right, what time are we at?
It's hour and 20.
Okay, I'll try to make this quick. Explain why you like Mario. Go. Because this came up yesterday. Everyone's like, oh my God, I love Mario. And me and Billy were like, I fell asleep, bro. And they were like, what are you talking? Oh, you have trash taste. I'm like, wow, everyone loved this movie? I don't get it. It was weird. Like Ray messaged me, he DM because like I put like, oh, Snooze Fest. And Ray's like, what? It was so good. I was like, what did you like about it? I don't get it. Everyone loved it.
I think because I had a different connection to Mario games.
Okay.
Than you guys did. Because I remember the fun times people would come over and play
Mario Kart. I did play
Kart.
Mario though.
Yeah, but
I did play that. It's
right,
like,
right. But I think I had like that was like one of my first consoles, right? Wii at the time, and playing Mario Kart. I think it just there's a aspect of the nostalgia is what maybe win over the movie kind of thing. I think bringing out the happiness, that kind of thing, or like bringing up thinking of the past, like the fun that we had playing this game, like that kind of aspect.
Yeah,
I think that's why I like the movie in that sense. Is the story is simple. It's not like an intricate story or anything, but the game is not intricate either.
Totally, but that's what I mean. I'm like, delete the characters. Like it's just skins, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're nostalgic toward the skin. So remove the skin. The story wasn't good. Like I don't know what it's just random. Like why was Bowser singing? I don't get it. Like you know what I mean? Like nowhere in the game did he sing.
Yeah, no.
So, but that's what I mean. Remove the skins and just look at it like polygons. You're like, I don't know what I'm watching now. Like I actually didn't know. That's why I like fell asleep. I'm like, what is going on?
No, I think that's why I liked it. I just let it take me through whatever the journey it was. And then the way that I viewed like the Bowser singing, I was a bit like, oh, what's this? And then I was like, oh, this is Jack Black. Just reminds me of School of Rock.
Oh, so you were tying a bunch of other things in together.
Yeah. Like this is his spin on it that he's putting it. Like I'm sure he pushed for this singing aspect.
I didn't know it was Jack Black. That makes way more sense now.
Yeah, I knew it was, that's why it's like I was surprised by who the Toad was. Or the small guy, the one with Mario.
Yeah.
That's the other I forgot their names, but the Keel and Peele. Not
Oh, really?
Yeah, the guy that's not the director.
Key, not Peele.
Yeah. It was him, and like he like changed his voice up.
Oh, that's cool. That's super interesting.
Like so, finding out like who these other people were interesting. Yeah.
So maybe it was just like compounded nostalgia from multiple different things.
Yeah.
That's why people liked it.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't even catch these voices, so I think that's also why I was like, you know when they were doing that thing in the beginning, like, why are you using that fake Italian accent? They're like, oh, it's just better for marketing.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is so dumb. Like, what? I didn't get. It wasn't a good story. You know?
No, I think I understood that. I think I like that aspect.
No, I got it too. But like, I get. Like, it's like, but it wasn't. I guess it wasn't funny.
Mm-hmm.
is what I'm saying. Like it was.
There was a lot of other, like I've seen like so many other TikToks of what are the other like Easter eggs that are in it.
Oh, okay, okay.
So it's like I think Wario and something else, the other guy, were in the movie, but
But
were not really shown.
but people actually liked Mario that much.
Yeah.
The only game I liked was like Mario 64, where you like run around the world. I was like, I've never played a game like this
Mm-hmm.
before. But other than that, it's like, who likes Mario? Like,
No, I
I don't
think
know, like who likes Mario?
as the game, you mean?
Yeah, yeah, so random.
No, I
Like,
think it's
there's
because
like
it's
something.
nostalgia. You play this as a kid, right? So there's a connection to that memory. That's what makes it
Yeah, yeah.
work. Yeah. It not me like I can go back to an older game. I know probably won't like it now, but there's a different feeling of it when I was playing it.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. It's like Dragon Ball Z. So yesterday we were all going off on Naruto, and
Mm-hmm.
then the one of the dudes that was there was like, I was like, oh, I love Dragon Ball Z. I was like, I tried to rewatch it. It wasn't that good. And he was having like it hurt my
Yeah, yeah,
heart.
yeah, yeah.
And I was like, did you go back and rewatch it? You know what I mean? It's like, it didn't hold up. It's sort of like like you were saying, if you go back and play Mario now, you're like, what is this? Like, games are way better.
But yeah,
But it's
but
the
this is
memory.
exactly. Yeah. I did want to go
Yeah.
and play Mario Kart, but I was like, oh, there's nobody else that has Nintendo to play Mario Kart, so never mind.
Yeah, facts. Yeah, true. Like,
This I'm sure
'cause-
this will help their again their sales.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, totally, totally. Um, I really want to ask you about consoles. If there's like, is Nintendo even out still?
Yeah.
Okay, are they doing another console thing? Like,
Oh, they have.
remember before it was like
Uh,
GameCube and then like Xbox and they had like PlayStation.
yeah. Well, right now,
Like,
today, the current one is Nintendo Switch, right? It was
yeah, but
it was
that's
a
not
huge
that's not a
success.
console. That's not a console. That's more of like a handheld. I don't put that in
No,
console.
they do both. That's the thing that
No,
was
no,
the difference of the
y-
two, right? Nintendo Switch was not the handheld. It's
wait, what?
both.
No, no, yeah, it has two capabilities.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, no, yeah, right. But what I'm saying is, I don't consider that a to me, a console is like you have to leave it here. Like a
No, so, see,
PlayStation.
that's the thing. Nintendo never followed with any kind of. Nintendo has their own way.
No, no, for sure.
They've
Just like
always done
GameCube
that.
and like all.
Yeah,
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 totally,
yeah.
totally. But like, is like
That's what makes
they
Nintendo
made.
successful, though. That's why they're still successful in that aspect.
Oh, I see. So they're not doing like
No, they
traditional
don't. They don't
console.
follow the same way.
Okay.
That's why
No,
they.
because
That's why it works.
they had like a GameCube. That's the only one I remember. I guess
Hmm.
maybe they learned
No,
like,
they
oh,
had.
this is not the
Yeah,
way.
they had consoles prior to, but they've always been trying to find different. GameCube was, or not
What
Game
was a console?
Boy, Game Boy,
Oh, Game Boy. Yeah.
right? Like that. They saw a huge thing in mobile in that aspect, right? So it's like
Yeah.
by the time they got to Switch, I guess the technology was there for them to be able to do both. Like you want to take it out, you can do that, but also if you want to play on the screen, you could do that. So you've got the option for both.
Are they upgrading that at all? Like, or is it still going to be
Well,
like? Does it seem like?
I think they have I don't know what
Like, I mean, like a
they don't.
PS5 kind of thing.
I know what you're saying. Yeah, this is the latest iteration, right?
Okay.
So they don't follow. I don't. They've never followed the same path as the other guys.
Okay, so I can't expect
Whenever
like a
it's
console.
ready or whatever they have planned out, it'll come out when it's ready.
Okay, is the Nintendo Switch? Now you're getting me like all hyped. I'm like, oh, should I get this thing? Is the Are the graphics good, or is it like? Because when I think Nintendo, I think
Nintendo
like
isn't.
Crash
That's the
graphics.
thing, right? So they haven't. I think there's like a Nintendo Switch Ultra. I'm not sure, but like it's not.
Okay.
Don't expect graphics like PS5. That's 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 for sure.
Okay.
It's not. They don't focus on graphics. They're focused on fun. That's all that they're focused on.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Yeah, that's such a dark horse in like the console world,
Yeah.
Nintendo.
Yeah.
You're just
Exactly.
like, what are they even doing? But apparently they're making like lots of money.
They do. They're a huge success in that sense. Yeah. They're not
Yeah,
going to be
actually,
like they're success for what they're doing and how much whatever they're spending on their R&D and things. Like they're not as big as PlayStation or Xbox, but they're not. That's not their main thing.
Yeah.
That's not what they're trying to do.
Yeah, that's interesting because like when I was at a family party at my cousin's house, they had a Switch and we were playing like these mini games and everyone was into it because it's like I don't know, it's just so simple. Yeah.
But that's their demographic. They want just a family fun type of game. That's all that they focus on.
Interesting.
Right.
So no RPGs, nothing like that.
I don't know like enough about if there's RPGs or not, but they're focused mainly on party games kind of thing. I feel like that's what that's all designed for.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, that's cool. I'm probably gonna look into it after this because now I'm kind of intrigued. I'm like, what are they even up to? Yeah. Okay, last thing, and then we'll jump. VR. Any update? No. No, nothing. It's too much. Is it like
no? I haven't had time to like sit and play any game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What are you playing now? Hogwarts?
I didn't get it yet. I'm just gonna wait for the sale. It's just too expensive.
Okay.
I do have. It was free, which was the Horizon Zero Dawn.
Okay, so you're playing that, or
yeah, that's you're just running through that a little bit, yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. You gotta let me know when you jump back on VR. Unless you don't, and then it's like, oh, that's a learning lesson. Like it's just too cumbersome.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, all right. Till next week. Take it easy, Bish.
Peace.
Bye. All right. Hope you enjoyed that episode. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, all those fun things, and check out our sponsors: Zenro Clothing Co., Portian Bakery, and Podbean. Take it easy, Bish.
Peace.